Welcome to Quilt Meets World, where we have adventures in piecing and joy. My name is Russ. Welcome to my sewing room. So, a lot has happened in the past couple weeks. I know it's been a little bit of time since I've done an update on here. The big thing that happened is we've gotten kicked out of our workspace. The office that I work at, they decided to cancel the lease on the building that I've been at for 14 years now. Just was a cost savings measure. So we were given a month to move out of our floor. So I've spent the past handful of weeks going through and packing up my cube. It's not the same cube I've had for 14 years. We moved around a little bit throughout the building. I did apparently make a joke 7 years ago on my 7-year anniversary that my cubes had been getting smaller and smaller, and joke that we would end up in a cube in a trash can by the time that I was here at 14 years. And funnily enough, I don't have a cube at 14 years, so that is very amusing that I was able to almost have a prediction spot on. I am taking the whole thing in stride. We do still have office space here. Instead of having a dedicated cube in the building that I have been in for the past 14 years, we have another campus where we will be hoteling. So on days that we will be in the office, we'll have to register our cube locations. Our group will be able to register our locations together, so we will sit together. We'll see how that works out because most of our time is spent on teleconference calls and meetings. So if we're all on meetings together and we are hearing each other behind us and in our earbuds and stuff, that's going to be an adventure trying to figure out how to get those coordinated. But until then, I am working from home for 5 days a week, at least through the end of the year. The technology is going to be brand new technology at the new building, so that is one awesome thing. They did let me take home my 2 brand new monitors that I had just got in the office, so I am now using those as part of my work from home setup, along with a work supply docking station. So I've been moving the stuff that I had been using for my setup down here into my sewing space so I can hopefully work on getting some lives out here in the future and have a screen up there so that I can see everything that's going on, anything that's happening for chat and everything when I get that going on. So it is a good thing. I'm not upset that I got kicked out. I am just a little saddened that where I've been for 14 years, I no longer have a lot of those luxuries. Another thing that happened is my washing machine died. Uh, it's, I don't know how many years old. I haven't had luck with that brand of washing machine. I'm not going to say who it was, just so I don't upset anybody who has that brand or anybody who's planning on getting that brand. So it was it suited me well, considering the amount of laundry that I think I've done with it. I ended up going to the local home center and purchased a brand new one. So it is actually getting delivered tomorrow. It's a good thing that I am not a pre-washer when it comes to my quilting fabrics. Otherwise, I would be in severe trouble. I found a really awesome laundromat around the corner that I've been going to the past couple of weeks to get my towels and clothes washed. So that's a good thing. But I didn't bring my sheets, and they are in a little bit of a need to be washed. So that's the first thing that's going to get washed when I get them in tomorrow. We also had a Halloween event in our neighborhood. For Halloween, I dressed up as a Game Boy. If you want to see a picture, I put it right here. I think I put it here. It was pretty fun in the neighborhood. We did have our Halloween event after Halloween due to weather conditions that we had on our initial date. I made bacon peanut butter bars, and they were a hit. Everybody loved them. The problem was it did get up to 80 during the event, so yeah, they started to melt. I'm thinking about bringing them to our Christmas event that we are having next month. We do a neighborhood progressive dinner where we start at one house, we'll start at one house for appetizers. We move to a second house for entrees, and then a third house for desserts, and it's the entire neighborhood. And when I say entire neighborhood, it's usually about 20 people that show up, not the entire 120 houses that we have in our neighborhood, because I don't think anybody can fit 120 plus people into their own house. It's a fun event. Last year, myself, my next door neighbor, and our neighbor across the street hosted it. And then it sounds like they are asking us three to do it again. So I think I'm going to do it. But I still want to make the bacon peanut butter bars for them as well. If I don't make that, I've had ideas of maybe eggnog pie or something else. What is your favorite dessert to bring to a function? Because that I would really like to know. Leave it in the comments. I also have been off this past week, so that was pretty exciting. So I got to do a lot of stuff around the house and that, including getting some work done on some projects. One thing that I was able to do is take a class at the local quilt shop. It was a binding class. They had posted it on social media a couple weeks ago, and I didn't know if it was going to be hand binding or machine binding, but I needed to get a little bit of improvement with my binding technique, so I signed up for it. When I got into the class, the instructor was a little surprised that I had signed up for it. There was a little bit of talk among the back office asking if uh, I had signed up for a wrong class or something, or if they got the wrong person, because they've seen that I've completed bunches of quilts over the recent months, years. I think I'm going on almost 2 years of solid show and tell at the local quilt shop during Saturday Sampler. So they were pretty surprised, but I did learn quite a bit of stuff. I learned a few good techniques to help improve, and the most important thing is I learned how to do some machine binding. Everything that I have done so far has been uh, machine stitched to the front and then folded over and hand stitch it to the back. Uh, that ended up being what I've been doing ever since I made my quilt. Forget how many years ago now. Oh, wait, I do know it was 6 years ago. It just showed up on my time hop. The quilt that I made for mom 6 years ago. That quilt was the first quilt that I did hand binding with, and I basically gave up the attempts at machine binding at that point because I liked the way the hand binding looked. The problem with hand binding is it takes me forever and all of that time. So learning how to do some machine binding, especially for projects like wall hangings where nobody's going to look at the back, I think that's going to help me out quite a bit. I did get to do some uh, practice with the machine binding immediately the next day. At home, I got the binding sewn on to a Saturday Sampler quilt that I'm going to be giving away for Christmas. And that was a bit of an adventure, too. Uh, I kind of was a little bit short, a couple inches. That was kind of embarrassing. I don't know how I was a little bit short, and I could not find the uh, extra little bit of fabric that I know that I have. Whenever I put a project away, after I get the binding strips done, I usually just throw the rest into a scrap bin, and I couldn't find it. I don't know if I didn't have any left, but I went to the local quilt shop and begged for some oops fabric because they usually still have some fabric for uh, 3 to 6 months after a project ends. And this project just ended in, I believe it was June or July that the project ended, our program ended. and I managed to get the couple inches that I needed to get the binding done. So that is now officially done. I will be showing a picture on one of my shoulders. Maybe it's this shoulder. Uh, that's the project, the Saturday Sampler. It was a lot of fun to do. The Saturday Samplers at the local quilt shop are a 12-month program, and uh, at the end of the 12 months, they give you the finishing kit to get everything put together. And yeah, the binding for it was all length of fabric, so I'm not sure how I messed up because it's not like I cut one short binding strip. So it it, it it's life. Speaking of life, my heat went out over this week. That one was another bit of an amusing story. The technician, when she came out, she was a hoot and a half. We actually did get some bonding over sewing. She does some garment sewing, I believe she said, and I showed her some of my quilt projects. But as she packaged everything back up and put everything in, because everything tested out fine, we forgot to test the entire unit after it had been buttoned up. And when I went to turn it on Wednesday evening, the heating was coming on, but there was no fan to blow the hot air. So, for fear of burning out my system, I turned everything off. It was a little chilly that night. My bedroom got down to 59 degrees. It's a good thing I make things that can keep us warm. Uh, as soon as the offices opened up, I was able to get hold to them. When they sent the same technician out, she knew exactly the situation that was going on. I joked with her that if she really wanted to, see more of my quilts, she could have just come on her own. She didn't have to forget to put something back together. But it took her all of 5 minutes to get back into the system and figured out what she forgot to plug back in. Uh, it happens. I was just glad that they were able to get it back in because it would have been a really cold night the second night. We've been getting down just to the freezing levels. So, yeah, it gets a little chilly inside if you don't have any heat. So, with all of that, over the past couple months, it has been a little bit difficult getting into my sewing room for any extended period of time. This week being off, it has been wonderful to be able to get in here and just do some chilling. Even though right now I have a cat just meowing at the door saying, "Hey, I want to get in because you're in there, not me." I try to keep the animals out of here the best I can just to try to keep any dander off of any of the projects in case, somebody might be allergic that is receiving one of the gifts. So, what have I been working on? I am 100% caught up with socialites at this moment. There are 5 blocks out. I lost track. We'll go over them in a second. So I don't know if they're going to release a block for the day after Thanksgiving this week. If they do, I will get to work on it because it'll be a 4-day weekend for me. If they don't, I've got plenty of other things to be working on. For the socialites block, this was block number 1. It I don't remember the names of it, but I am doing everything in Tula Pink fabric. This was block number 2. This one was a little bit difficult to do with the inverse and double flying geese. I don't know what to call this unit up here. But whatever it is, it was made basically doing a flying geese one way and then doing a flying geese the other way. Block number 3, I really like the look of, and I was able to get the brightness to go with it with the extra fabrics. Block 4 was very, very easy. It was just a handful of half square triangles. The interesting thing about this block was the first time that I pieced it together, it was a 1/4 inch too small for some reason. I used triangulations to do my half square triangles just so that I can keep them as accurate as possible. I think Everything with the triangulations was fine. As I was going through the remake, I realized that I did not set my seams before I trimmed everything out of triangulation. So I wonder if that caused a little bit of shrinkage or something in the fabric. I don't know. This one came out exactly 9.5 inches. So I was just able to redo everything. And then the final block so far in Social Lights is the Bear Paw block. This one was fun to make. Again, used triangulations, but this time I made sure that I pressed everything before I trimmed them out, and everything came out exactly the right size. So I'm not certain exactly what was going on with that first triangulations unit, but it's working now. The other thing that I've been working on is Saturday Sampler. As I said earlier, I was able to get through the Saturday Sampler program to do show and tell and everything. This was the latest block with the Saturday Sampler program. It is a 14-inch, as I'm trying to figure out how to move my camera, 14-inch log cabin. So I was able to, bring this block in, just prove that I actually did the block, and they gave me the next block in the program, just as part of the rules for the program. So the next block I have until mid-December to get it complete. I will probably do it this weekend when I'm having a handful of other things that I want to work on. So that'll be good. The other thing that I did is I started a new project. I know we're not supposed to start new projects until you finish like the last 72 that you started, but I do have deadlines for these. It's a couple years down the road, but you will see with Star Power, there is a lot of cutting and stuff to do. I have this pile of fabric that is ready to go, and it's going to end up being cut down into 336 half square triangle units before I can start continuing with the star blocks in that pattern. I can do the 9 patches in there, but at some point I still got to get those 336 strips cut down into half square units. So I think that's going to be something that I'm going to be working on this weekend a lot. This is the colorway that I am doing with this one. It's going to be a gift in a couple of years, but with it being a queen size quilt, I need to get that started as soon as I can. So, what do I have for goals this week? It's going to be a 4-day weekend. So that means it's 3-day work week. If we can survive that week, I've heard all kinds of craziness has happened last week while I was out. So we'll see how exhausted I get with working 3 days. But I do have a couple things that I want to get worked on this week. The first and probably most important in the list is stockings. I bought the Fat Quarter Shop stocking template a couple months back because I want to make stockings for me and my fur babies. I bought stockings a handful of years ago that worked for, it was me, my 2 cats, Jesse and Percy, and my corgi at the time, Bradley. It worked great for us. Bradley unfortunately passed away a few years ago of old age, and it'll be 2 years ago this coming Christmas. I adopted Riley, and Riley did not have a matching stocking when I adopted her because it was 2 days, 3 days before Christmas. So I got her a temporary stocking at that point. And then last year I tried to find a matching stocking at Target where I bought the other stockings, and I found a close one, but I did not like it really. So I just decided that I was going to make stockings. I bought some fabric last year at Joann's. It was a 2 yard bundle, not bundle, a 2 yard cut that was it was on clearance because it was after Christmas. So I think I got the 2 yard cut for like $3 or something. And my intention was to make stockings for it without even knowing the Fat Quarter Shop stocking template. And as I started to pull everything out this morning to do the stocking, uh, I did not like the feel of the fabric. It happens sometimes with cheap fabric, which I bought cheap fabric. I know that's what I did. But the snowflakes that were on the fabric, you can feel them as you were putting your hand over them, and almost like braille. And I did not like the way that that felt. That and the fact that the Fat Quarter Shop stocking template has little applique pieces for the toe and heel, and I didn't have anything that matched that fabric directly. I just decided to go out and buy new fabric. So that was an adventure that I went on today. And the lady at the checkout counter really loved my shirt, which says Happy Trees and it's got Bob Ross on it. And we had a little bit of a uh, conversation about Bob Ross and some facts that she didn't know that I did, which is a little scary that I know some of these Bob Ross facts. So yeah, definitely stockings are something that I need to do this week so I can start having them decorated for the Christmas event. That way I have everything up for that. My second goal that I have is to start cutting the half square triangle units out for the Star Power quilt that I was talking about earlier that I started. It is 336 half square triangles, and they are cut out of strip tubes. So it's all cutting out of the strip tubes. I did do math yesterday, and I believe I can cut everything out of the same amount of fabric and use triangulations to get the same number of triangles. So that is going to be what I do for future versions of this pattern. But unfortunately, I am making 4 that are already in progress and have already been pre-cut into the strips that are needed. So there's no way that I can go back and say, let me do these triangles a different way at this point. So for the ones that are currently in flight, it is what it is, and I'm going to have to do the 336 half square triangles in the strip tube method, but I do have plans on making one of them for me using some Bonnie and Camille fabric. I think I'm going to put that up here just so that you can see what the fabric line is. So I want to do the Star Power quilt in that fabric and have that for my bedroom. And I think that's going to look wonderful because I love me some Bonnie and Camille fabric. I'm kind of sad that Bonnie retired, but I am excited that Camille is still around, and she has been like teasing me with this gorgeous fabric that she's been releasing with Nantucket Summer, and now Dwell is out, and I'm trying to convince myself not to buy a whole bunch of Dwell if I can help it. My third goal this week is to get the labels for anything that's going to be a Christmas present worked on. I have an embroidery machine that I make all my labels with, and just get the labels stitched in there. And then I can do a quick whip stitch on to the back of my quilt project so that they can be ready to be shipped out for the ones that have to be shipped out. And then the stuff that isn't getting shipped out, get the labels on a little bit later, but just still in time for Christmas. And now for some finished projects. Those are always exciting to be able to share with everybody. The first project is what I've been talking about a couple times, is our Saturday sampler quilt that was just done. That's the one that I did the machine binding practice with, and I was a couple inches short. But as you see, it came out gorgeous. There's a couple of shots up here. One shot is the photo that was taken at Saturday Sampler, and then the other shot is a photo that I had taken just after I got the quilt shop or the quilt top done. So it was a lot of fun to do, as are the Saturday Sampler programs. Uh, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to be getting because you know that it's going to be some sort of 12 blocks in some sort of a setting fashion. Sometimes they've done it in more of a block of the month fashion where you get like setting blocks and things like that. And other times they've just put it into a straight, you have sashing in between. So it's always just a fun quilt that it's usually a good Christmas present to give because you're not doing a lot of investment in it. The other finished project, and I'm calling this finished because it's not quilted yet, and I still have another border that I got to put on it. But the Cotton Cuts Puzzle Mystery Quilt, the finishing instructions and kit came. Uh, it was the first Friday. The instructions came through email, so I was able to start on it. And then Saturday, the fabric arrived. That was the fastest I've gotten something from Cotton Cuts, and I was really excited when the finishing strips came. So I managed to get everything put together. I think it looks like it's supposed to. I know there's people that have minor mistakes that they've decided if they're going to leave in or get the seam ripper out, but I don't see anything. I did have some seams that didn't quite nest like I think they intended. But that was just my mistake while reading the instructions. This was my very first puzzle mystery quilt. So, going through those instructions, in some cases, I didn't understand how they would be meeting with other units. And now I see a little bit more of how the units are going together. So, when I sign up for the next one in, wow, I think it might be next week or the week after when they start doing the signups or showing the colorways. I will know to be a little bit more diligent with the direction that I press my seams. They did give us a color card. Let me see if I get it without it being washed out of some of the new colorways. And then these were the other sides. I'm going to take a better picture of this and pop it up. But there was a purple on here. Which one was it? Right here. The purples, which I don't think that they're coming through very well on the screen because of a little bit of a washout. That's what I think I'm going to be doing when the sign-up start, assuming that there aren't any new colorways that are coming out. There was talk that while at market, they saw some fabric that they are interested in doing a puzzle mystery quilt in. So what you see there is not all of them. So get excited for a new puzzle mystery quilt. So that about does it for this episode of Quilt Meets World. It was a long one with a lot of updates. I'm excited to be able to get back with the sewing room. I'm excited to be able to start getting the sewing room set up a little bit better to do some better filming and maybe do some additional, I call it speed runs of showing me piecing blocks together so that we can learn different techniques. You can learn something the way that I do something, or you can put your feedback in comments on how I could be doing something a little bit better in your opinion. Just teaching everybody better ways to do things. So if you want to, please leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe to my channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, but it means the world to me. And until next time, keep stitching.